open door is a welcome that makes a stranger into a friend. A smile is a welcome sight that invites people in. It's a welcome gift to encourage others to achieve greatness. When struggles and challenges are holding you down, a simple welcoming hand towards you is all you need to lift you up. Hi everyone, welcome to the Therapy Hub. I am Dr. Nikki, your specialist, and today joining me is none other than Mrs. Annalicia Dallas. Today we will be discussing a very important topic, something that most of us goes through, and I'm talking no other topic than depression. Mrs. Dallas, welcome.
Thank you.
Nice to see you. How are you?
I'm good, and you?
I am doing great. I am doing great. You know, that beautiful smile, of course. You know, I'm happy to have you join me, you know, with this discussion. You know, Mrs. Dallas, this discussion that we'll be having today is very deep. You know, I'm kind of thinking that I might have to do this in different series, you know, because it's very, like I said earlier, it's deep. So it's not nothing that can just cut and dry like that. You know, when you talk about this depression, Mrs. Dallas, you know, this is something that haunts a lot of us. There are so many people in this world, in our homes, around us, in the school situation, at the workplace, in church, that is suffering from this bug, I call it depression. And therefore, there's a lot of time, you know, when the situation is faced, us, definitely, we don't understand what is happening. A lot of us don't even know what is going on. Sometimes we believe that we're just tired. So therefore, you know, the low feeling and all the things that depression comes with, it is so sad. Because you don't even understand your body anymore. And today, you know, this depressive disorder known as depression, it's just a common mental disorder. But not many people know how to deal with it. A lot of people, they don't even know that they're going through such thing. You know, it involves a depressed mood, a loss of pleasure. Things that you used to love to do, you no longer have the appetite for nothing. You don't want to do nothing whatsoever. I mean, Mrs. Dallas, let me ask you, what is your take on depression? Let us talk.
Well, from my point of view, depression is something, it's psychological, but at the same time, it can take a toll on you physically. Because I am speaking from experience, and I have had some encounters where I thought I would just lose it completely because, as I said, the psychological aspect, it turned into something physical. I didn't feel like myself, as you said. I couldn't operate as I normally do. Even one point where I was at home with the baby, in my mind, I felt as if I couldn't tend to him as I would want to, and I had to send him to my mother-in-law just to recoup. So it is a lot. It's a lot.
So what was happening to you really? It was right after you gave birth, or?
Well, it was a couple months after. And as you have mentioned that I did a lot of reading, being pregnant and after pregnancy, so I stumbled upon postpartum depression. So in my head, a lot of things were going around in my head. I was wondering if it's that or if it's something else, but I couldn't tell myself.
But let me ask you this, Mrs. Dallas. How do you know that you were depressed? Because a lot of people don't know. There are times when people are depressed, they really don't know. It's maybe like a family member, a co-worker, or someone have to say, come on, what's going on? What's happening to you? Because they don't even understand that they are unwell. How did you know that you were suffering from depression? An open door.
I made an assumption based on the little that I know. And based on how I was feeling and the toll that it took on me as a person, I was basically acting out of character. I was not myself. So based on the little that I know, I just made the assumption that this must be what depression feels like.
Okay, because, okay, before giving birth, did you go through anything? Because one of the things that there are certain causes of depression, especially in adults.
Yes,
And
yeah.
right, most definitely. And one of them is that there are stressful events. Namely, there are people, sometimes they take time to really get to terms, especially if they have lost a loved one, right? Bereavement, relationship breakdown, right? Failed marriages, failed boyfriend, girlfriend, what baby mama, baby, all of them drama.
Yeah.
Maybe they lose a job, whatever. It takes at the time. Sometimes trauma. A lot of people, they go through rape. Yeah. They've been through rape. They have been through abuse, mental, physical, emotional, right? And these are the things that makes them feel unwell. Now they become depressed and they don't even understand what is really happening.
That's true.
How did you deal with your situation other than taking the baby to his grandparents?
It occurred for a little while. That was just one day. I usually speak with my mom and I speak with my husband, and there was one night it got so bad I felt as if I was going to lose my mind, and in the middle of the night, maybe about 2 a.m. or somewhere there, I came off the bed, I spread some blankets and pillows and everything, put back the baby to bed, and I went down on my belly and I cried out to God, because that is the way I know. And I've been taught and I've experienced and I know that when everything else fails, Jesus will never fail. And he's the one that we should really go to first. And I've had some experiences where I must say, before going to God, I actually took matters into my own hands, which is not what we're supposed to do. But flesh will come in every now and then. But that is something that I know and I acknowledge. So at that point in time, I said, look here. And I went down to the lowest point and I cried out to God for him to hear me and for him to help me.
Oh my word. I understand exactly what you're saying. Mrs. Dallas, sometimes the things that cause people to be depressed, it's beyond your control.
Yes.
One of the reasons is, for instance, medical issues. As a female, you go to the doctor, and the doctor will probably tell you that you have that big C word that all these women are afraid to call. I'm not going to call it. I can spell it. CANCER, right? And for men, if they go to the doctor, and doctor tell them they have the PC word, which is the PRO.
That one.
That one.
That one.
I'm talking about chronic illnesses.
Yes.
One of the things that you'll be surprised that put people in depression is chronic pain. Arthritis. It's like you're in so much pain, and it doesn't matter the medication you take, it's just like there's nothing, it's hopeless. Yes. There's another thing that causes depression is probably a side effect from medication that you take. Sometimes, people think I'm crazy, but it's like every medication that I take, I like to read. I just read them, and it is so very strange. But I'm listening to you really speaking about your depression, and you went to the Lord in prayer. After prayer, what happened? How do you feel? Because prayer works.
Yes,
So
definitely.
prayer works.
So when I prayed what I prayed, I asked God to show me signs. And I said, God, whatever it is, however you want to send it, I was desperate. And I said, however you want to send it, if it are going to bring this grace, whatever it is that you see fit, as long as it's in accordance with your will, however it is that it's supposed to be done, reveal things to me, show me clearly what I need to see. Because I'm thinking that probably that's one of the reasons why I took matters into my own hands. I was not able to see clearly. Because when you are looking through your physical eyes and not the spiritual eyes, it's a whole different type of view. So I asked him to open my eyes and to show me what I need to see so that I could know how I should operate and deal with the situation.
Okay, so I've listened what you've said, and you repeated it 3 times. You said you took matters into your own hand. One of the things that happens to people who go through depression is that they start thinking suicidal, hurting themselves or hurting others. A lot of people who go through depression, some of the symptoms of that is anxiety, sleeping disorder. They don't want to eat, or they eat too much. So it's like they start losing weight or they gain weight, right? And you have to understand and remember that depression, it's really a mood disorder, that cause persistent feeling of sadness and loss. You're always sad. There's nothing to smile about. When you wake up in the morning and you don't want to take a shower, you don't want to brush no teeth, you don't want to comb no hair, you don't want to change no clothes, you don't want to change no bed linen, you don't want to sweep no house. Talk about sweep house. You don't want to do nothing. Then you realize that it starts to interfere with your family situation. You talk about the kids are being neglected. You're talking about you being neglected. And you're talking about a situation, worse if you have a partner home. You start losing all that feeling of things that used to entice you. Things that you used to love doing. The friends that you used to hang out with. It's like you pull away from everyone. You don't want to see no friends. You don't want to see no children. You don't want to be close to no husband. And then when you don't want to be no close to no husband. You know that there's a problem. You start losing all that, nice little appetite that you have right there, what I'm talking about. What happened? And does any of this ring a bell to you when you was going through your situation? It's like, I'll give up, wake up, you just feel sad. You're down. That thing called fatigue is like you don't want to get out of bed. It's like you don't want to sleep at night, and in the morning you don't want to move. That is so sad. Did you experience anything like that?
For the persons who will see me on this and you know me, it was often said that I always look unapproachable and I not talk to people, and a lot of those things are being said about me because I was a very reserved person. And as a child growing up, and probably in my teenage years, I have experienced a lot of hurt in different aspects, whether it's friendship or even church, wherever, whichever aspect. And it caused me to look on life differently, and it caused me to become pessimistic. Yes, I owned meaning past. I owned it because that's how I was feeling back then. I'm saying, how am I such a nice person? I'm humble and kind. I treat persons the way I expect to be treated and even more, because that's how I know that's what is in me. That's how I was taught. And the feeling that you get when you have a good relationship and a good connection with people, it's a greater feeling than if you get $1 million. So at that point in my life, I was upset because I'm saying, how can I be showing you kindness and at the same time you are being hypocritical, you are showing me hatred, and a lot of the times those persons, they have no excuse, they have nothing to say that Anna did this to me. So as a child and a teenager, I was battling with all of that stuff, and I used to say, I don't like people, and I began to be more reserved. And I know that a lot of persons who knew me back then, I know it's a different Anna now, different Anna. Back then, I was way worse. So it's a lot, and I've been experiencing these things since my probably early teenage years, coming up into adulthood. So it's not just now. I've had different experiences that would cause me to think a certain type of way, to be pessimistic, to be reserved, or to be depressed. Because sometimes there are certain things that will happen and I will end up in my room crying about it because I can't understand it, I couldn't understand it. And that would kind of send me into something that seemed to be depression. So it's a lot, and it's been happening for a while, but that was then.
That was